I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 YouTube tropical update. That's right, this is just designed for YouTube, especially for you that have found us here, and we appreciate that. I know we've got a lot of folks who are regular viewers who already subscribe to the Fox 26 channel and get more than just the tropical updates, but other great videos as well that are sometimes more or less based around the Houston area. We try to keep this a little bit more universally based for the Atlantic Basin, at least for the tropical update. And again, we're glad you're here because I know a lot of you out there are not from the Southeast Texas, and you are checking in to see what's happening in the tropics, whether you're somewhere else in the U.S. or you're in the Caribbean or somewhere else around the world. Appreciate you doing that. Let's dive into things. This is going to be Sunday, November the 6th, in the afternoon update, what we're looking at. So all of our information, specifically, we're concerned with, of course, what comes from the National Hurricane Center, because they update those regularly. The latest that I'm providing for you, again, is the Sunday afternoon update. We're going to start with this area of low pressure that's a little bit to the east of Bermuda. It's a pretty well-defined low pressure area that we will continue to watch, but the Hurricane Center is putting some high numbers on this at this point in time. 70% chance over the next 5 days, even over the next 2 days, a 70% chance that this would develop into a tropical cyclone. It really wouldn't be a threat for land if it does, but again, keeping an eye on things, keeping track on things. That's going to be something we're a little bit noting, because this other area of low pressure, very confident that it's going to become a tropical cyclone. And so it's one of those deals where we might actually have two either tropical storms, maybe even hurricane, or tropical storm and a hurricane kind of going at the same time, but two named storms at the same time in the Atlantic. I don't want anyone to get too confused by that if we get to that point. And again, which one you're most concerned with as far as which would develop first and second and that sort of thing. So a high likelihood as far as the probabilities that we would have two named storms in the Atlantic here the beginning of November, and we've got all the way through November for our hurricane season. But you know, it really doesn't matter just what the calendar says as far as these tropical cyclone formations. They really could happen anytime that they want to. So the numbers from the National Hurricane Center on the low pressure that's near Puerto Rico: 80% chance in the next 2 days, 90% chance when you look at the 5 days. I'm feeling pretty confident that this is going to develop into at least a subtropical, if not a tropical cyclone, within the next really 24 hours, but I have pretty high confidence for sure over the 48 hours. So we're not going to be surprised at all if this has got the potential tropical cyclone or either the actual named storm by the time we get to the end of the day on Monday. But we'll leave that to the Hurricane Center. They're the ones who get to make the decisions on their forecast. But again, it's an area of low pressure north of Puerto Rico, and it's going to continue to track into this red shaded area, and we'll kind of see how it ends up going. So yesterday, if you're a regular viewer here, again, yesterday I talked about the GFS model, the American model, and what is it expected to do and where we could see this take it. And I told you it was a little early, but still beginning to feel more confident in what's happening. And the Euro was sort of mirroring it a little bit with probably just a little less intensity overall. And there's still a bit of disagreement as far as what the intensity is. And for sure, this is not looking to be an organized system. There's going to be a lot of sort of irregularities and disorganized sort of feel to it as it continues to develop. But it does look like that something possibly near a hurricane strength winds will be approaching that east coast of Florida. So let's dive into things a little bit. We start on Sunday night. We move this forward, and you'll notice once we get into Tuesday afternoon, this is election day if you're with us here in the U.S., definitely looking to have some organization to it, definitely looking like that this would be a tropical cyclone and possibly even a tropical storm, and with some area of even further development as it begins to get closer to that east coast of Florida. So in the southwestern portions of the Atlantic, by Tuesday, we think that there will be some sort of a tropical cyclone. I'm going to say probably a tropical storm at this point in time. And then we'll continue to go over the next couple of days. And right when we get into Thursday morning, again, don't get too focused or worried about the actual time by the hour, but kind of note, this is Thursday morning that we're talking about. Here is that tropical cyclone making a landfall on the east coast of Florida. So that's the concern if you're in this part of the country or if you know some people there. That storm surge is certainly a threat. The high winds would be something to be aware of. Rainfall, it doesn't even have to be a strong storm to have some rainfall concerns. And of course, some hurricane-spawned tornadoes are always a possibility when you have something that's making a landfall like this. So Thursday morning is the time frame that we're most concerned with as far as a landfall, and we could get some impacts ahead of that as well. And then watch what happens. These current runs now that we're seeing on our modeling sort of is speeding up everything a little bit, and that includes this front that we'll be moving through, and that's what's going to take this. You'll notice we're going to move just a little bit further to the west, and then we're going to hook it up to the northeast with our model, barely reaching the Gulf of Mexico before it begins that track. And then you're watching very closely with the timing once again. If this gets back out over water, would there be a possibility for re-strengthening? It's beginning to interact with the front that's moving through. How is that going to impact things as far as decreasing the strength? Typically when you have a tropical system that hits a front like that, it's not going to be helpful for development, but it certainly is going to steer it around quite a bit. I always like to say that hurricanes, even though they're huge, powerful, big storms, they always will track to the path of least resistance. They're not going to be able to just push and bully their way straight on through a front that moves in like that. Even though, again, the hurricane itself is a very powerful storm, it's always going to try to move around it, and kind of, again, with those steering currents, it always is going to find the easiest path to go. In this case, bouncing up into the northeast is where it would head. Let's switch now to that European model that we were talking about, or the Euro. That's, again, same basic path is what we're looking for. We're starting with Sunday evening. We'll move this forward into Tuesday afternoon, as we talked about it, election day, perhaps just a little bit less organized, even more so. Very similar location as far as where this is forming in the southwestern portions of the Atlantic. And then as we progress through time, I'm going to pause this at the exact same point. Thursday morning, 7 a.m., we're just going to round that to 7 a.m. or to Thursday morning. You'll notice that that center of circulation right there on that east coast again to Florida. So the timing and the actual positions are very similar between these two models that are most reliable in our tropical forecasting. The intensity is something that we're dealing with, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're looking for some disorganized patterns overall with this as it continues to develop. Same thing's going to happen. It's going to hit this front and then bounce up to the northeast as we progress over the next couple of days. This one may be hugging the coast just a little bit more, not as much over the Atlantic as it bounces back, and we'll see even if it makes it, might not even make that center, might not even make it out over the Gulf waters. Again, all of this could change a little bit. It is unusual for sure that we have this kind of activity happening in November, but when you see these models in agreement like this, you know something is going to be taking place. And at this point in time, it does look like that these will be life-threatening somethings that's going to be taking place. This east coast of Florida, and really even the west coast at this point, is not off the hook for sure, because a little bit of changes in those timing. If you'll remember yesterday when I was showing you the GFS model, it put the center all the way into the Gulf of Mexico before it began that track. So that's all possible again as the timing begins to sort of tweak itself out a little bit. We're not locked in stone for sure as far as where this is happening. We're 4 to 5 days away from a U.S. landfall at this point in time as we look at things. Now, I was sort of making a big deal earlier about that other system that's out near Bermuda, to the east of Bermuda, because again, I want us to kind of be focused a little bit on these names. I think Nicole and Owen are both going to be used here within the next 48 to 72 hours, and I just want to make sure that we were kind of aware of that and don't hear, Owen has formed and don't worry about Owen and thinking that that means don't worry about anything in Florida. That might not be the case if Nicole is to form first, and that's the one that wants to head towards Florida. So just kind of be prepared to have two different names going. The whole naming system is to keep things easy, right? So you can track that storm. Well, make sure that you're keeping track of the right named storm once we get those named. Again, Nicole and Owen are going to be the next ones that are kind of on the list there as we're moving forward. I've talked about this before. If you're not following me on social media, it would be great if you wanted to do that. I'm at John Dawson, Fox 26. We'll continue to kind of keep you updated on what's happening in the tropics. Of course, we'll be back here on YouTube every day. A Fox 26 meteorologist will be here keeping you updated. But I'm at John Dawson, Fox 26 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Instagram is where I would like to see the hurricane discussions happening most of the time. If it's not here in Houston, that's where you're going to be doing that. So if you're on Instagram and you want to look me up, that would be fantastic. And a reminder, the Fox 26 weather app, you don't have to be in the Houston area to take advantage of this app. All of the tropical information will be on the app. So as soon as the Hurricane Center starts putting out those forecast cones, you'll be able to receive that right on your phone, kind of look around and see how those maps are changing with time. Every time the Hurricane Center updates it, we'll update it. And then, of course, you can also get, if you are in the Houston area, the app is fantastic. You get all the live streaming as well from Fox 26. Thanks for finding us today. Remember, we're back here again tomorrow for the latest update on what's happening in the tropics.